And I'm pretty sure that was in, that was at Illinois. I don't know if it was in Illinois State or what it was. I can't remember, but that was kind of what I was doing.
That was in,
years.
that was
a little reverb
at Illinois. I don't know if it was in Illinois State or what it was. I can't.
Then after that, and so mind you, this whole time I'm like 300 plus pounds, pulling supers, and just, struggling, trying to make my way.
I remember you were a bigger guy. I've seen you online recently. What do you weigh now?
Right now I'm at 219.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah. So basically, so we'll get to that too, I guess. But in 2014, I moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada because I met my wife. My wife got a job out there. And so we moved up here. And luckily, there's a pretty strong arm wrestling community up here. And a lot of guys that have been pulling since, the 80s and 90s. And then there's kind of a lot of those guys. And now we're trying to, bulk everything up a little bit again now. So I came up here, and as soon as I got here, my left was very competitive right away. My right was not very competitive. But my arm wrestling went way downhill after about a year of being here, because I went to grad school. And when I went to grad school, it sucked my soul out completely. And I wasn't training. I was I think I hit 320 at one point in time. And it was bad. I wasn't going to practices. I wasn't training at all. But every year I still did commentary at nationals, and I would go pull at Canadian nationals. I ended up winning my first national title in 2016, despite, injury and not being out of shape. So that was really good.
What weight class was that in?
That was in supers.
Supers. Okay.
Yep. So that was supers. And, so that was really good. I'm really happy that happened. And I was always, with the left hand anyways, I'm always, threatening for a podium, right, at the nationals level. So that was good. But I came to a point in 2018 where I was in the middle of my PhD, and I went to nationals. Were in Montreal, and I went and I didn't even pull. I felt like crap. I was the heaviest I ever was. I was sweating like a pig all day long. Yeah. And it was that tournament where I was like, look, I either gotta figure out how to do this better, or get myself in better shape, or just not do it anymore, because it's just not working. So at that point, my goal was, all right, next year at nationals, I want to pull 242. So that's the reason. I had been to 242 in the past. So I started right away when I got home, and got back in the gym, started going to practice again. And by the following year, I was at 260, and I cut down to 242. I was at 261, I think, the day before the tournament. And I did a water cut that week and got down to 242, was super happy about that, but ended up getting fourth place left-handed. And it was I could clearly tell that I was happy to be at 242, but I wasn't strong enough, right? I had lost something because I wasn't doing the weight cut properly, so to say, right? It was a lot of just sacrificing food and not eating the correct volumes and portions and all that kind of stuff. So that was okay. And then I maintained 255 to 265 for about a year. And then, so that would be up until this year. And then COVID was happening. We moved to a new house. I got a gym in my basement now, nice. Which is where I film all my stuff, So I get the gym and I start just training my ass off, starting in March, with the idea that I was just going to try to get as strong as I possibly could at 255 pounds. Once I got to, I think it was September, August or September, we had like the only tournament we had this entire year. It was like a sliver of time where they opened things up enough for us to have a tournament. And I met this guy named Mazel Jador. He's from Newfoundland. And he is like he's done it all. He's like a bench press champion. He does these wild cuts where he goes from 290 to 198. And he's a nutrition guy. And we got together and he started talking to me and I said, well, would you be willing to, coach me and help me out with my nutrition? Uh-huh. And so he gave me the program and I started just following exactly what he told me to do. And that was we started, I think in October or November, because we're coming up on 3 months. And so far I've come from 255 down to 219 with the goal, the first goal being 198.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that's like the competition angle of everything, right? Of kind of the process and all this stuff. But now if we go back to August of 2019, that's when Uncle John was kind of born.
Okay.
And at that point in time, I had quit my PhD halfway through.
What was your PhD? What were you aspiring to be?
So I have my undergraduate degree is in psychology. I worked in that for a long time. I have a master's in sociology, and then my PhD was in sociology, and my focus was new religious movements or cults.
Dude. We could spend a whole day talking about that.
Yeah. It's very topical at the moment. That's for sure. So I spent a lot of time doing that. But for me, going to an extremely liberal school and having to follow some of the, let's say, gender guidelines that they force upon you and the racial guidelines that they force upon you, I decided I wasn't willing to give them my money anymore.
I understand that. Yeah.
So I quit because I didn't want to be a part of it. And it was just a horrendous experience. Probably the worst decision I've ever made in my life was to go to grad school. But then I just I was like, all right, let's just stop this. Let's stop losing all this money to university and let's figure out what we want to do. And at this point in time, I was like, arm wrestling is the thing that I always have gone back to. It has never stopped being in my mind. Even when I was at my worst, I'm still watching arm wrestling videos. I'm still following, the community. And so I was like, well, I think, and at this point also you had guys like Ryan Bowen and like the Voice of Arm Wrestling guys and a few other channels that were like legitimately kind of making it, right? And the subscribers were going up and I was like, well, maybe this is doable. So I just did a bunch of research on, what's the easiest way to start making YouTube videos. And I basically got my phone and I signed up for a YouTube account and I just started putting stuff out there. And it was super low budget, super I can't even go back and look at some of that stuff from a year and a half ago because it's just, it's just so poorly done. But that's where it started. And for me, I never wanted to go on as John Thompson. I wanted to be a character. I wanted to be able to do creative things. I wanted to, be able to, be one person, one show, and then another person, another show. And so that's how Uncle John was born, was the desire to have a character. And so I basically just started talking about what I was thinking about it with arm wrestling. And at that time, there was WAL stuff going on. So we would do, WAL previews and reviews. And I tried to do I didn't do much with training stuff right away, but I tried to do here's how you should behave at a tournament. And, some tips and tricks for new people coming in, what to expect at your first tournament, or 3 things to avoid to not look like a douchebag when you're arm wrestling, and little things like this. Yeah. So and it at first it's I'm putting out. I made the decision to put out a video every Monday and every Friday, okay. And so I started doing that. And at first, it's 2 people watch your video, 3 people watch your video, and
Right.
you're just kind of like, okay, well, we'll see where it goes. But really, the key has just been to keep doing it. Just keep every Monday, every Friday, and then last year I started doing the Wednesday live show
Okay.
because of COVID, and that's when I would say when I started doing the Wednesday live show, that's when things really started to pick up. Because I was able to get like guys like Ryan Espy came on, Neil Pickup came on really early, Ryan Bowen came on really early, and it connected me with the larger community, right? So once I got in with those guys were really key because Neil promoted my channel and Ryan promoted my channel. So I went and very quickly after I started those live shows, I got above 1,000 subscribers, which is the key to monetization, right?
Right.
So once that happened, I got a little bit more confident. I started getting a little bit more good feedback. And so I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to do different things or newer things, or, especially during COVID, it's like, oh, you're going to do an arm wrestling channel, huh? Well, how about this? You can't arm wrestle. Like in Canada, we haven't had a tournament now in months and months and months. And
Yeah.
we couldn't even practice for a while.
Right.
So that was really difficult, but one of those kind of, it's cliche, but blessing in disguise, it just forced me to make other types of content.
Sure.
And luckily for me, it's worked out pretty well so far. We're consistently gaining subscribers. We're doing better and better with the live shows. And now, like, my favorite thing about any of it is I'm a part of the arm wrestling community on YouTube, right? So on any given day, I might be talking to Ryan Bowen. I might be talking to Gary Roberts. I might be talking to Cobra Rhodes. And all these guys who I now have these direct links to, which just gives me more and more and more fire to create new things and new content. And hopefully, I mean, my goal at the end of the day is twofold. One is to make a legitimate living being a quote unquote pro arm wrestler / YouTube, whatever you want to call it, arm wrestling celebrity or influencer or whatever you want to say. And that's the main goal, is to be able to do this long term and to make a career out of arm wrestling one way or another. I would love to be the best arm wrestler in the world, but at my age, with my abilities, I hope to get really good, but I'm not like I'm going to be a WAF champion. Right. But I would love to get to a point where I could be competitive enough to get a shot at the WAL, or to place top 10 at a world competition. And my weight loss and this kind of journey down to 198 is a big part of that, because I was always so frustrated thinking, what if I took my hand and my arm, and what if I took that to my optimal weight? Because I've never done it before. There's like the lowest I've ever arm wrestled at in a tournament is 242. So anything from here on out is kind of like unmarked territory. And I'm excited to be 98 and pull 98s, 220s, 242s, and supers all in the same tournament. And sure, I'll probably
diet a little bit. What's the diet look like specifically? I know you're real fired up about your diet and the guy that you were telling me about earlier. What are you doing specifically that have somebody watching this show that wants to lose some weight and be more athletic could take away?
Yeah. So at this point, the big keys for me, I mean, the diet is it's pretty much just a strict diet that you would expect. So a lot of chicken, a lot of rice, a little bit of like lean ground beef, and some white potato. And then
you hear this?
and then, vegetables, a little bit of fruit. And then I do, a lot of protein shakes with oats or yogurt or something like that.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty basic. It's pretty ordinary. But the key for me was I was a sugar addict for 35 years.
Okay.
For sure. You know, I had a great childhood, but learning how to, or learning to kind of associate sugar or bad foods with, you know, emotions really messed me up when I was a kid, right? So anytime you're feeling down, let's go to Dairy Queen or, you know, something like that. And that's just something that had a very difficult time, you know, getting through. And sorry, my computer's just being a little bit of an asshole right now. I'm just going to try to turn this off real quick here. Maybe that'll help our situation. You guys got too many applications going at once.
Yeah, I'm wondering how I can get your picture on here. I did put it on my YouTube, Never Been Beat. But
yeah, I don't know what.
Copy streaming.
I don't know, because it says my video is on, but it clearly is not. But
can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you perfectly fine.
Okay.
I just, yeah, even if I
switch. If you're watching this, guys, this is John Thompson, also known as Uncle John. Check him out on YouTube. I'm assuming just Uncle John. What's the easiest way to get to your social media pages?
If you can, anywhere you type in Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Show at this point, something should pop up. If you type that in on YouTube, you'll get brought right to the page. If you type it in Google, a bunch of stuff should pop up for you. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. Brother, I love the live Gary Roberts show that y'all did. Man, that looked quiet. That was a lot of fun you guys were having on there.
Yeah, the New Year's, that was a really important show. I think for me, it was really important, but it was also really important for the arm wrestling community. Yes. It really brought a lot of people together. I started connecting with a lot of other arm wrestlers like Brad Cook from 217, Aussie arm wrestler Jake Ward, and a lot of these other guys where now it's connected us, right? And it's pushing us forward and
everybody's collaborating. There's like a unity instead of elbowing people out. You can feel that everybody's trying to make the pie bigger.
Right. And that's, I think, the big key. For me, you know, for a while, it's interesting times right now because it's such a, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, a melting pot of people on YouTube, because now it kind of got brought in with, you know, Voice of Arm Wrestling, Devin, Pound for Pound. And since I came on, so I was kind of, I feel in like the second wave where like myself, Neil Pickup, and a few other people kind of came in. And now in the last year, there's been like, you know, 20 different arm wrestling channels that have kind of started up. So it's a real interesting time for, you know, finding people to help boost you, but also bringing other people with you. Because when you look at it and you like compare arm wrestling to like the fitness industry on YouTube, right? There's literally a billion different fitness YouTubers, right? Just so many of them. And when you look at that compared to arm wrestling has nothing. Like it's growing, but we still have almost nothing. So my perspective is like, why there's no point in being cutthroat at this point. We want to make arm wrestling bigger, because if I try to cut out the feet from anybody below me, but arm wrestling, it just maintains its same level of popularity, well, then there's still a glass ceiling that we were never going to get through. Absolutely. So for me, I want the Aussie arm wrestler to break through with some of his viral commentary stuff, right? I want Brad Cook's arm wrestling videos to go viral because they look so damn good. Because I know if that happens to them, I'm just going to grab onto their coattails and ride them for a little bit. And if I get the bump, there you go. If I get the bump, I'll bring everybody with me too, you know? And that's my perspective. I don't have any interest in like, you know,
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I see you doing that, and I see the energy building around you, and even talking to Cobra Rhodes, just
Mhm.
how he can feel that, through interactions with you and talking with him. So, man, that's awesome, brother. Have you always been like somebody that's trying to make the pie bigger, or
Um,
are you just
no,
developing
no,
that recently?
no, I don't think so.
Not to get into your dark side or nothing, but
No, not. I mean, there's no dark side really, but when I was in grad school, like I said, it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. It was some of the most horrendous, disgusting individuals I have ever come across in my entire life, and the way they thought and the way they would treat you, not based on your personality or your ideas, but just purely based on where you're from or the color of your skin or whatever. I can't do that. I'm not interested in any of that type of stuff. And I just like that. That made me very, very jaded. I was super jaded against pretty much anything that had to do with the liberal universities and all that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not get into politics a whole lot now, mostly because of that, because it was such a futile effort for me to try to change anything. And the people that I was dealing with just had no sense of logic in any portion of their mind. So I just kind of gave it up. And I said, the thing that helped alleviate a lot of my anxiety about it was just the idea that I was like, you know what, let's just move on. Let's just, move on from this whole situation and try to approach everyone on as much of an even playing field as I possibly can, because I do not want to treat other people the way I was treated in that situation, because it was absolutely the worst time of my life. And so for me, how that translates is I think arm wrestling has a bit of a problem with not being very good.
I think I lost you, brother. Let's see if I can send you, jump back on. Hey, for you guys, anybody who's watching this live or in the future, we're talking to John Thompson's Uncle John. He's telling us his backstory into arm wrestling, promotion, competition, and just his philosophy on where the sport's going. Go check him out, Uncle John Arm Wrestling, and follow him on social media. Let's see if we can get him back on here. Wait for him to log back on. So there we go. Admit. Boom. Hey, brother. Hey, there he is.
Hey, we did it. Okay, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Sorry about that. I don't know. There was something screwed up with my computer for a second there.